For young professionals, what advice would you give someone who's just now coming into the industry?
I would say relationships means a lot. My wife gets mad at me every year. We spend like a couple of $1,000s on Christmas cards. She's like, who are you sending Christmas cards in Charlotte? Like, hey, don't worry, like, those guys are brokers or home builders. I need to send them Christmas cards.
Today, I've got a very special guest, Andy Wu. He collects houses. Well, not just one, not just two houses, but he's been involved in over 25,000 acquisitions. You have deployed about $3.5 billion into the SFR BTR space, which means he's the guy you want to.
I would say my biggest lessons learned, actually, this is from Jay. Until, I started working with Jay, and Jay's like, well, acquisition is only 50% of the equation, execution is the other 50. So you could buy a great deal in, execution didn't hit their mark, it becomes a bad deal.
Welcome back to Inside the Vendor Network, and today I've got a very special guest, Andy Wu. So welcome to this episode, and we're going to go full ARKade mode with Andy Wu today. And in the acquisitions game, we're going to have a big game theme for this entire show, because Andy, he's not just playing around. He's leveling up and putting up top scores in this industry. So, all right, everyone, you know how some people collect sneakers. And if you kind of look in the background, you've got a sneaker collector in the house. We'll get to that. And some people collect baseball cards. Well, Andy Wu does not only collect sneakers and, oh, by the way, trophies up there on the shelf. He collects houses. What do I mean by that? Well, not just one, not just two houses, but he's been involved in over 25,000 acquisitions. So when I saw that number, I was like, whoa. And if you've ever driven through a build-to-rent community in the Southeast and even some scattered lot communities, chances are Andy's probably bought or decided not to buy at least half of those houses. That's how big this number is. And you'll see he's not even blushing, because this guy knows his stuff. And when you have confidence like Andy Wu, you have deployed about $3.5 billion into the SFR BTR space, which means he's the guy you want at the poker table, right? Except instead of chips, he's pushing deeds and terms across the table. So welcome to the show, Andy Wu. I'm so excited to have you here. Let's talk a little more about these sneakers in the background.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. That's quite of an intro. So I always been a sneaker person. This is actually maybe 25% of all my shoes.
Oh my gosh.
So my wife had asked me to push all my, like, at least 25% of them into this corner next to my desk, so she can use the other part of this room.
So when did this sneaker collection begin?
Actually started when I was in middle school. My wife always get on me for this. I still have sneakers from when I was in high school, throughout college. Some of them actually, soles have been falling off the shoe, which actually I have a pair here. As you can see, the sole is not really attached anymore.
Oh my gosh.
But
you really wore those.
Yeah, that's one of the classics. So I, try to keep all my shoes in mint condition at least.
Well, you probably wore out a few pair in the acquisition space, walking houses and doing deals. So that doesn't shock me. What's your favorite brand? Do you have a favorite brand like Nike, or I know some people are like big Jordan fans. What's your favorite pair of sneakers?
I would say probably Air Jordans and Nikes.
Classics.
I don't think I own any Adidas or Reebok shoes. They're all have been Jordans and Nikes.
Yeah. I like the classic Reebok, right? Just the plain white with a little
Oh
bit of
yeah.
a Reebok brand. I mean, I love that in this space right now, all the ladies are starting to wear sneakers with their suits and dresses. I was like, yeah, I can get down with this jam.
Oh, for
So
sure.
I just bought the Sarah Blakely sneaks. So it's like a
Ooh.
stiletto sneaker. Stiletto sneakers. We need
That.
to get you a pair of those.
Oh, I'll take a pair. I'll take a pair. I'll take a pair.
All right, so for those of you that don't know Andy Wu, he's currently the Senior Vice President and Head of Acquisitions at ARK Homes for rent, which basically means if there's land or a community or a portfolio worth buying, Andy's probably already 3 steps ahead. So buckle up because today we're going to get to know Andy a little bit better. We've got some normal questions we're going to ask someone in his position. So, fun fact about Andy Wu, he was the IMN Rising Star, earning the recognition in 2023, which is kind of like the Forbes 30 under 30 for the industry. Except with fewer Instagram followers. Andy's more of a pivot table LinkedIn guy. And just serial slayer when it comes to acquisitions. So no surprise on the recognition with IMN. We are actually coming upon the IMN award ceremony again. I think nominations just ended, I think, a week ago. And you've got a couple awards up there on the shelf. Tell us about those awards. I think it was like every year you were eligible, you guys won.
Yeah, so this is actually the IMN trophy.
Okay.
I was so excited after I won the IMN, I guess, Rising Star. I didn't even ask for a case. I pretty much held the trophy the whole time. Went straight to the Plaza Bar. So there might be a chip here, but everything else is kind of like the achievements we've done at ResiCap and ResiBuilt. When we did the capital raise, we kind of got like a glassware for, and same when we, sold something, we got a glassware for. So over the years, I collected a lot, and so those are back there.
Yeah, I like that. We're going to dive in. You're going to get to know Andy a little bit better. But we're going to wrap up with a game called WWAWD. What would Andy Wu do? And I think we're gonna create something here in the industries because people are gonna be walking around saying, "Well, what would Andy Wu do?" And I just love that. So, Andy, can you walk us through your journey from the time you were at ResiCap, ResiBuilt, and now leading acquisitions at ARK?
For sure. I was at ResiCap for roughly 8 years. I just told this to somebody in Dallas during IMN that, Lance taught me how to dress, Andy taught me how to style my hair, and Jay taught me everything I know about the business. But all jokes aside, throughout those 7, 8 years, I've learned a lot from those three guys. They were like big brothers to me, and they took me under their wings, taught me everything about the business. And a lot of people didn't see this, but they didn't just help me on the professional side of the business, professional side of, I guess, my career. They were, they were helping me to grow up as well. I started working for them when I was 25.
Wow.
I left ResiBuilt when I was 33. So during the process, I got married, had a kid. They were always there for me, and I think from a career standpoint, they saw a lot of potential in me when I first joined the company and empowered me to, make decisions. They brought me to the big boys table early on, and I saw how the decisions were made, and the process going into making those decisions definitely, kind of brought me to where I am today. In terms of ARK, I would say ARK got the finished product from Andy, Lance, and Jay, and now they got this, mid 30s Andy, and I'm hoping that guys like Joe Luback, Jordan, John Isaacson can, you know, grow me into where I need to be in my 40s, and that's what I'm looking for the next 5 years.
Absolutely. I just was at Blueprint and I got to sit in the crowd and Jay was on the stage and boy, he's sharp and he brings a lot of experience to the table. And so what were your biggest lessons that you learned from acquiring and managing both scattered SFR and ground up BTR communities at such a large volume, like in early in your career, like you came in like drinking from a fire hydrant, right? Like you
pretty
didn't
much.
come into a market where we're here today, where there's some ebbs and flows. You came in where it was like land grab,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I mean, like that's fortunate that to be able to be on the early stage at Resi Cap and Resi Bill. I would say my biggest lessons learned. Actually, this is from Jay Bice. Early on in my career, I thought you make money when you buy a deal, right? Because hey, if we buy it right, everything else is just gonna fall into place. Until I started working with Jay, and Jay's like, well, acquisition is only 50% of the equation. Execution is the other 50. So you could buy a great deal, and execution didn't hit their mark, it becomes a bad deal. Vice versa, you could buy a really crappy deal, but execution overperforms. Your development cost come back lower. Your construction price comes back lower. It could become a great deal. So, I would say lean on your operation side of the business as well. Kind of work together with the acquisition to kind of put everyone on the same boat. All the goals are aligned, and you can definitely knock stuff out of the park.
Those are all such really good points. I didn't even think about, yeah, correcting maybe a bad acquisition at the beginning,
Hmm.
or wasn't a great acquisition, and you can overperform. And for the audience, being inside the vendor network, that really resonates with the vendors, and how they can impact those things and play such a vital role in possibly recovering it. But I will say I'm a both kind of girl, so I want the good acquisition and the great operations, because boy, doesn't that make for a great portfolio.
Oh yeah, for sure. Then you're hitting those 30%, 40% IRRs, right?
That's right. So, what does a typical day look like in your role? I do often wonder. On the vendor side, we're doing flooring, but then I always call it like the smart crew, like the smart groups, like the investors, the acquisition, the land guys, and I'm like, wow, like I don't know, they're just a different segment for me. I'm like, we're just the ones like getting the houses ready and doing all that stuff, but I'm like, those are the smart guys, like they're really getting the numbers right. What does a day in the life look like for one of the smart guys?
I wouldn't say I'm one of the smarter guys. I would say I'm probably average. But you know, the fun part about this job, or just anything on the operator, on the BTR operator development side of the business, every day there's a new challenge, right? Every day is something different. Obviously there's certain standard things that I need to do on a day-to-day basis with calling brokers, calling builders, and calling developers, see what kind of opportunities there are. But every day is a new day for us. Every day is a new day for me. There's always a new challenge, a new task, something I want to get accomplished. Right? It might be to come in one day looking at the leasing report. I see there might be some issues. I get together with our asset management team, try to solve those issues. So every day it's different, and I do enjoy those challenges. So I don't get bored. Right.
Yeah, no redundancy. So when you talk about brokers and builders, what are you looking for from a broker standpoint?
Just kind of what deals are coming online. A lot of time brokers, because I'm always a huge believer that when you receive those emails, you're probably too late, right?
I
You
agree.
want to get ahead of the broader market. So I'm always calling, I have my guys at every I guess I have my guy JLL, I have my guy at CBRE. I call those guys maybe a couple of times a week and just say, hey, what are you guys working on? What's in your pipeline? Anything we can take a look before you take it to the market, and that kind of gets ahead of the A ball, right? There are a lot of opportunities which we captured this year. Before the brokers took it to the market, we were able to underwrite it, perform, and get it under contract. So, I just don't like the fact that once it's on the market, if I win the deal, I'm the guy that paid the most, right? I want to beat the guy before it hits the market.
Are they thinking about you when one of those emerging deals starts? And so you have to stay in front of that
For sure.
and just stay top of mind with all your handful of brokers. And what about builders? What are you looking for in reference to builders? I know probably similar things, but when it comes to the actual product, what are you looking for?
So we're looking for your typical BTR stuff, right? Your two car attached townhomes, single family detached. Townhomes I would like to be at least 24 wide, but we can do deals where 20 wide townhomes, one car garage, but prefer a two-car parking pad in the front. For single family detached, want to stay anywhere between 15 to 2300 square feet. 3 to 4 bedroom on the single family detached side, maybe with a small mix of five bedrooms. And for a complete subdivision like a designated rental community, would like to be amenitized. Depending on the, I would say depending on the unit count, right? If it's like 70 to 100 units, a dog park will be okay. A dog park like playground, but once you get to that, over 100 units, we'll prefer a pool, clubhouse, those type of things.
Yeah. So, how would you describe the current state of the SFR BTR acquisition market now toward the end? I know from the beginning of the year through today, I mean, look entirely different, really. I mean, it's been an evolving, changing market, and I know there's a lot of opinions out there. Where do you think we are?
Um, so this could be very subjective, right? It's just at least my opinion. I think today is the best time, or just right now, right, is the best time to put a shovel to the ground, right? So if you're looking at the historical numbers, the BTR starts peaked in 2022 and 2023. So those assets hit the market in 24, 25, which is last year and this year. So that's one of the reasons why the rent growth hasn't really been there, right? I would say this year is probably less than 1% in some of the southeast markets. Some of them are even negative. And last year was the rent growth wasn't really there neither. But because the product from 22, 23 hitting the market, this year, and all the products are going to get absorbed by end of this year or at least maybe mid next year, right? So and then, in terms of start, you saw like a significant drop after 23. So not a lot of product are coming to the market in 27, 28, right, in terms of BTR products. So if you can put a shovel to the ground today or kind of get a deal started today, you're probably not going to see a house in 2027, which is perfect timing in my opinion. And you should be able to capture rent growth from 26 and 27 and forward.
Absolutely. Planting those seeds today for the few years. I mean, I know the handful of builders that I'm working with the shower systems, just forecasting what their builds are going to look like from a manufacturing standpoint, so we can align with their production schedules. I've definitely learned a lot more and can see what you're saying on that side. You nailed it. Just from a vendor standpoint. So
Right. I mean, I would say a lot of people, they underwrite a deal with, today, right? Hey, like, what happens if I get a house today? But in reality, you're not going to see that first house until 2027. You have to forecast what's going to happen in 2027, right? The
mhm.
rent growth might be, 1% this year, but by the time 2027 hits, it's probably going to be a 3.5, right? So, those are the type of things that I like to, at least the way we're looking at deals, we're trying to not time it, but looking forward looking.
Yeah, and it's going to move the needle. I mean, that's going to be that's going to scale really well, and I think it's also aligning with. Um, I was just looking at a report that Jay Parsons had put out around the lag in rent
Yep.
growth. And that was, so if anyone's out there, I'll put the link in the description of this show. That was a really good report. Jay's amazing. I follow everything he says, him, and I think it was a John Burns report actually that he evaluated and was talking about. So
yeah, Jay Parsons is a great guy. I think he's doing a podcast too.
I just saw that. I'm gonna get him on my podcast is what I'm
Right.
gonna do. So, so heading, let's see here. So, are there certain regions that you are seeing that are most exciting for you right now?
Obviously, I'm extremely bullish in Atlanta just because I live here, it's the backyard, and I would say I haven't missed in Atlanta yet. So it's a good sign, right? And within Atlanta, I think I'm mostly excited about that 316 corridor, which is from Lawrenceville all the way to Athens. I think that's where the growth pattern is. There's limited supply in the area. That area has experienced tremendous, population growth. I think that's a great area in terms of BTR. Outside of Atlanta, I like Savannah a lot. I also like Knoxville and Chattanooga. I think those are the markets are gonna experience similar growth. Because a lot of people are getting priced out of Nashville and Charlotte, Raleigh. So I think the natural move is, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Savannah has been doing great for us.
Yeah. I was just in Savannah this last weekend. One of my valuable customers put a couple showers in short-term Airbnb that
Oh, wow.
there. So it was kind of fun. I actually did the install. So I'm one of those hands-on people. My fiance and I did the actual install. I was like, well, we'll just come down. We'll go to dinner. We'll have fun. We'll do the install. And I like getting to learn stuff like that. I was like that at Preferred. I'd get out in the field as much as I could.
About your showers, they look phenomenal. I've seen the product in person, and also, we saw you guys last week at IMN, and Gentry couldn't stop talking about the product, how amazing the product looked afterwards. She was like, I don't care how much it costs. We need to start putting these in our projects.
Let's go.
Yeah.
The great news is it doesn't cost much more, and I think it does really lease up homes faster.
For sure.
Until everyone is putting them in all the homes, whoever does put them in the homes is going to have a little bit of a competitive advantage. So there'll be a little bit of runway before they're in every home, but so I definitely think Colleen loves them down at Quinn at Moccasin Wallow. I think that's the property that you were able to walk. That's going to be a beautiful neighborhood down there.
For sure.
So for young professionals, right, who want to break into acquisitions, what advice would you give someone who's just now coming into the industry? So they're baby Andy Wu back in the day. They're coming in. What are some of the things that maybe you would have done a little bit differently at the beginning of your career? What recommendations could you give someone coming in now?
I would say, especially on the acquisition side, or just in generally real estate, right? Relationships means a lot. This is one of the things that Jay tried to teach me when I was younger. I don't know if this is appropriate to say, but he told me that, real estate is a long-term relationship, not a one-night stand. You always gonna, do business with them. Don't try to screw them, or don't try to be mean to them. Always maintain a professional setting. Always value those relationships, which, I haven't been doing that since. My wife gets mad at me every year. We spend like a couple of $1,000s on Christmas cards. She was like, who are you sending Christmas cards in Charlotte? I'm like, hey, don't worry. Like, those guys are brokers or home builders. I need to send them Christmas cards.
Yeah, I think it is important. I mean, this is a long-term play. I think especially right now, we're at the beginning innings. Talking about what would you do, we're gonna get into the lightning round. And we're gonna rapid fire through about, I got 8 what would Andy Wu do? And so this is gonna be real quick. Andy's gonna give us his answers. And so we got a couple scenarios. I've got 8 scenarios that we're going to walk Andy through, and he's going to give us our answers. So this is going to be gold. Get out your pen and paper, take notes, video this, do whatever you need to do, but you're not going to want to miss these answers. So, all right. See, scenario number 1, the cap rate creep. So the cap rates keep drifting upward, but your sellers still want yesterday's pricing. What would Andy Wu do?
I would re-underwrite and make sure that I'm buying at market. I'm not overpaying for anything. And the reality is, if the cap rate is going up, which means everyone else is buying the same cap rate, so the seller will have to get to realization this is just today's market and accept a lower price.
Yeah. So and if they don't, it's walk away.
Yeah, and you're gonna see the same deal coming back a year and a half later.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So just be patient.
Right.
All right. Scenario number 2. What would Andy Wu do? The lender ghosts you scenario. So 2 weeks before closing, your lender bails. What would Andy Wu do?
There's always a backup. You always have to have a backup. So I'll call the backup lender, give them the business, and go from there.
All right. So have backups. Be deep in your relationships with your vendor or your lenders, which I've noticed there are plenty of them. I'm like, how many lenders are in this room? I was like, there's plenty of out there, isn't there?
Right.
All right. So the Phoenix dirt deal scenario. You find a prime land deal in Phoenix, then you discover construction costs just went up 30%. What would Andy Wu do?
I would probably ask for a discount. The fact that if my construction price went up by 30%, everyone else's construction price, cost probably went up by 30% as well. So, I would also give the seller a reason why we're asking for a reduction, right? It's just one of those things that out of our control.
Yeah. Good. This is gold, guys. He has experience here. Remember, over 25,000 homes. I think I saw you just updated. I think it's over 30,000 now. Keeps
something like that.
like that. He's like, I'm not keeping track. He's too busy closing deals. All right. So the off-market unicorn scenario. A developer offers you an off-market BTR community, but only if you close fast. What would Andy Wu do?
Well, I would do everything in my power and try to get that deal and close fast. Actually, it happened to me when I was at ResiBuilt, where right before the new year, someone called me about a deal, and we were able to get everything together and close the deal within, I would say, 30 days,
Wow.
30 to 40 days. And that turned out to be a great deal. And that was probably like a 56% IRR deal. So,
wow.
So you can take opportunities like that and just have to move fast and get all your ducks in a row and ready to execute.
Well, and that's because you had the team. You have the team to lean on to say, hey, we got to execute fast on this. You've got the lenders, the broker. You've got all of it put together. So build a team also is the underlying. Be ready, right? Always be ready.
Exactly.
My fiance always asks when I'm getting ready. He's like, "Are you ready?" I was like, "I was born ready." What are you talking about? Like, I'm born ready.
Love it.
The Sun Belt Showdown scenario. So you've got Dallas, you've got Atlanta, you got Charlotte in front of you. You can only pick up one market. Oh, wait. Yep. Sun Belt Showdown. All right, so you've got Dallas, Atlanta, Charlotte in front of you, and you can only buy one market today. What would Andy Wu do?
ATL all day.
ATL.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, ATL is on fire. I mean, it's been the largest portfolio. I mean, collectively, it is the largest portfolio of most owner operators. So same on the vendor side. I'd say I'd start in Atlanta. If I was starting a new company right now, it'd be in Atlanta.
Oh, for sure.
So, okay, the hold versus flip scenario. Do you hold a BTR community for 10 years or flip it stabilized in 2? What would Andy Wu do?
Really depend on the market, right? Even if we have a business plan to hold on to subdivisions for 10 years, if someone offered me a really good price in 2 years, I would take that. So it really depend on the market and if I can get, the similar returns by selling it quickly versus holding on to it a little bit longer.
Yeah. All right, the rising star pressure scenario. You've been named IMN Rising Star. Do you coast or do you double down?
I never coached, so I've been doubling down since. It's funny because I guess when they first came out with the IMN award thing, I think I won maybe the first one or their second event. Um, and I remember telling everyone, I was working with them. I've been in the space for 7 years. Why is this rising star thing? And everyone looked at me and was like, dude, you're only 32, so be grateful.
Yeah. They're like, we've been working my whole career and I haven't gotten any awards. So,
Right.
yeah. Well, congratulations again on that award. I think it's a big deal as well, and to be recognized by the industry as a whole. I mean, that's just kind of big time, especially at 32 years old.
Thank you.
All right. So the renter demands scenario. So the resident wants single family lifestyle at apartment prices. What would Andy Wu do?
We'll probably, try to lower cost by value engineer. Might call shower companies like yours and ask for a better discount, uh, or building smaller homes, make them less expensive but with at the same quality. So there are a lot of things that you can do to move the lever to make things a little bit less expensive and which can provide tenant with a lower rent.
Yeah, I also think in this industry right now, it's like don't be afraid to ask, and that's kind of the communication. We introduced the product 6 months ago into this industry, right? So if we were to talk about a specific, but as I've gone into the market, I'm like, tell us where we need to be, right? And it
Exactly.
we can be there. Tell me where we need to be. I think it's important to keep those lines of communication, especially with a new product to the market. We're learning the space. I worked with ACP and Palisade to put together what our price point should be based on this space in this industry. But if it doesn't math, it's not going to work and you're not going to sell anything. So let's stay open minded
For
and
sure.
let's kind of work through things. And ultimately, I think there's always a place where everyone can win, right? What I call the triple win.
Exactly. And one of the things which, again, I'm a huge fan of your showers, right? Because I think one of the things that the I see the benefit just not just the look but ongoing RM and your turn costs are going to be significantly lower. It helps on on the underwriting portion, right? So let's say, using this scenario, if I put in a regular shower which will have to replace the tile every 2 to 3 years versus yours, your shower is going to be less expensive for us to maintain, which means we can, ask for less rent to bridge that delta there.
Yeah, for sure. Um, all right, so the wrap up. So, all right, folks, I think we've just got a master class in acquisitions, is what we just got. So, woo wisdom is at its finest here. Next time you're stuck in a deal, just ask yourself, what would Andy Woo do? So thank you, Andy, for all of your insights today. I wrote down a few key takeaways as we were talking. Relationships are very, very key. Buying it right isn't always where you make the most money. You can correct on the back end or have the both scenario.
For sure.
Atlanta, very bullish, and that would be your market of choice. And right now is the time to put the shovel to the ground. And so that's a quick wrap up to our segment today. But before we officially close, I want everyone here to join the Inside the Vendor Network, which is a private LinkedIn group that we have going on where if you want to ask Andy more questions, of course, this episode is going to be posted in there. Go ahead down in the comments, ask Andy more questions, add your value, or if you disagree, tell us you disagree, and maybe we can learn some new things from yourself. But let's keep the conversation going. That is the benefit, I think, of this platform and this podcast is, as I was looking at trade shows and we go from show to show to show, you've got a lag in weeks in between. Like, how can we keep the conversations going in between all of the shows, and keep the momentum going? And then if I didn't get to meet Andy, or now there's a platform where, I can get to know, like, who is that Andy guy? I keep seeing him everywhere. I remember those days. I introduced myself.
Oh yeah, that's right. In Scottsdale, I remember that specific.
You're like, yeah, I'm Andy Wu. Like, but it's it's having the courage to do it. Not everyone does, so I think this is an opportunity to get to learn more people, bringing the color to an industry that's not always so black and white. So thank you to our audience for tuning in today to Inside the Vendor Network. We're going to air every Wednesday. Andy, special thank you to you for joining the show. Maybe we'll have you back one day in the future and go a little step 2 in what would Andy Wu do. But I'm excited to watch your career journey continue.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me. And it's been fun. Hopefully, we can do it again.
We absolutely will. Thank you, and have a nice day, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye.